Hello folks, welcome to Wikipedia World and I am Abhinay Gupta. Today we'll continue with the topic, the producer company. In our previous class, we had seen all the sections that is covered under section 581, all the subsections, right? 581A to Z, ZA to ZT, all of them. We didn't discuss any of the section in detail, but yes, we have seen the entire list. We have discussed which are the sections that are important for examination. We have also discussed the specific attempt when those sections have appeared in your examination, in your question paper. And to be specific, if we have the topic, what was the subdivision of that topic that was asked in the examination. So with that detail, we have discussed the chapter. So I would request you to, if you haven't seen the previous lecture, view that lecture and then move on to this so that you know where to pay more attention, which are the sections that you need to focus specifically and understand every single bit of it. Otherwise, I'm making an entire effort to give you all the knowledge of all the sections, because as I always say, don't miss out on any of them. If you're doing a chapter, do it 100%, else leave the entire chapter. Don't let your effort go to vain. Right? Because you never know what a CA institute gonna ask in your examination. Maybe there's just one specific section that you leave and that is the section in your examination. Trust me, that happens with a lot of people. Even CA institute knows what are you studying. Right? So it is better that you deal with all the sections. It is around 50 sections, but it's very small. It is not necessary that you remember all the section names, the section numbers, I'm sorry. But there is one very simple thing in this chapter, that you have all the section beginning with section 581, and then you have the continuation with the alphabets A, B, C, D up to Z, T. Right? So today we'll be discussing two basic sections, that is section 581A and 581B. 581B will have the objects of the company and 581A will have the definitions. So let us start with section 581A. And we'll discuss some of the definitions. So to start with, we'll understand what a producer company is, right? So as per your Companies Act, to be very specific, it is section 581A(1), that is subsection 1. And yeah, there's one thing I forgot to mention in the previous lecture and the beginning of this lecture, that section 581 belongs to your Companies Act 1956, which is the old act, and was actually inserted by the Companies Amendment Act 2002. Right? That was the year when this section was specifically inserted into the Companies Act 1956. And corresponding to this section, you have no section so far in Companies Act 2013. So this section of Companies Act 2015, Companies Act 1956, remains applicable for your exam at least up to May 2016. Right? Further, in your next examinations, maybe from November 2016 or May 2017 onwards, if there is a change in the section, you will be notified via the subsequent videos. Right? So please keep in touch to know before your attempt which is the section that will be applicable. Right? Now we were discussing the definition of the producer company. So producer company has a very simple one-line definition, which says, I'll quote it down: producer company means a body corporate having object or activities specified in section 581B and registered as a producer company under Companies Act 1956. Right? So over here they did not define anything about a producer company. It is just said that any company which is registered under Companies Act 1956 and follows the object as specified in section 581B will be considered to be a producer company. That means any company with the object of 581B is a producer company. Right? Next definition that we'll see is, who are the producers? So producers means any person engaged in any activity connected with or relatable to any primary produce. Now we need to know what a primary produce is, right? Because primary produce is very specific in the definition, that the person has to be engaged in an activity connected with or relatable to the primary produce. Then only he will be known as a producer. and then only the producer company will come into establishment. So what is the primary produce? So now we need to understand what a primary produce is. So primary produce would also include the byproduct and the ancillary activity produces, right? Now, what do we actually mean when we talk about the primary produce? So the primary produce is the produce of the farmers basically, which is arising out of agriculture, right? And it may also be from any other primary activity or service. That is what the act says actually. But now what do you include in agriculture? Agriculture would also mean and include the animal husbandry, the horticulture, floriculture, pisciculture, forestry, forest products, viticulture, revegetation, bee raising and farming plantation products, right? So these will also be considered to be agriculture. These are included in the meaning of agriculture. And apart from this, you also have any produce of the farmer arising from other primary activities or services, right? Then along with the produce of farmers, you also have the produce of any person who is engaged in handloom, handicraft and the cottage industry. Right? That is a traditional Indian thing, right? That the worker of the particular fashion or the particular craft in the hand they prepare, right? Whatever the handloom, handicraft or cottage industry is, that is basically the produce by the workers over there. It is not very much automated or machine oriented. It is labor oriented, right? And then you also have any produce resulting from the above activity, including the byproduct of such product. So if you were producing any agricultural produce or any produce in the handloom or handicraft industry, and in the process of production you have a byproduct that is coming out, so even that byproduct will be considered to be the primary product and to consider it valid for your producer company, right? Then you also have any produce resulting from any ancillary activity that would assist or promote any of the aforesaid activities, right? So this says that if you have any ancillary activity which is related to the activity that you have been doing for agriculture and for handloom, handicraft and for the byproduct and stuff, so even those ancillary activity produces will be considered to be the primary producers, right? And any other activity which would increase the production or the quality of the agricultural produce, handloom, handicraft, cottage industry produce, or its byproduct or ancillary activity produces. So whatever four things that we have discussed. So the fifth thing is, if anything it is done in which intends to improve the production or the quality of the aforementioned four things, right? These are known as the primary producers. So any producer producing these items can come together and form a producer company. Understood? So this is nowhere related to the film industry or any manufacturing industry or a plant that is set up, right? Basically what we see is it is the labor oriented work. It is a labor oriented produce. Now, whenever any producer participates in the business activity of the producer company, they are in return given some of the services by the producer company. Now, these use of these services are known as patronage, which is our next definition. So, what is patronage? Patronage is the use of services offered by a producer company to its members by participation in the business activities, right? And then you also have the patronage bonus that is given to them. So patronage that we have seen is basically the right to use those services. Now that has been allocated to the members respectively with reference to the quantity or the quality of work that they do for the producer company, right? And then the patronage bonus. What is the patronage bonus? Bonus obviously you know is distributed out of the surplus. So when the producer company has a surplus, it will distribute additional bonus, additional patronage to its members in proportion of their patronage, respective patronage, right? So to go with the text, patronage bonus means payment made by a producer company out of its surplus income to the members, and that too in proportion to their respective patronage. right? So I think now these terms are clear with you. What is a producer company? Who are the producers? What do they produce? Right? And what are the services that the producer company gives to the members, the producers? Right? That is the patronage, and what is the patronage bonus. So basically what definitions you need to understand and the meaning that you need to know before heading to the chapter is clear with you, I guess now. Right? So now when we talk about producer company or the primary producer stuff, your mind will directly go to what we have talked in this lecture so far. Right? And I'll assume that you understand what it is, so that I won't be explaining it again and again when we have the topic or when we have the word in front of us, because that will make the lecture and the study for you a little cumbersome, right? So these definitions, okay, these days definitions are not asked in your examinations, but it is important to know because that will help you to frame your answers very well when you're writing in the examination. So definition, some students may think it is not at all important, and others may think that yes, that is the most important thing, because whatever answer you write, the definition will reflect in that answer, right? So you can always frame a better answer if you know the definition of the terms, right? So this was the end of section 581A. There are other definitions also which is not very important because those words are not very frequently used in your context. Next, now we'll see what are the objects in section 581B. The objects that we were talking about. These are the objects that can be taken up by a company to be a producer company. So what did we learn in the definition of a producer company is about section 581B and nothing else. And now we will see what is into 581B, right? What the entire treasure is all about. So, but before heading to this, we'll understand one more specific term, which is the member of a producer company. Now, who are the members of a producer company? Basically, it can be any producer or any producer institution. It is not compulsory for it to be incorporated also, right? And when they are admitted as a member to the producer company, then they are known as a member of the producer company, right? And they should retain the qualification which is necessary for their continuance as a member, right? Yeah. So now we move on to section 581B now, which is the object of a producer company. So we have already seen that the objects deal with the primary produce for the farmers or for the producer company. So production, harvesting, procurement, grading or pooling, handling, marketing, selling, export, whatever it is, if you do these activities for a primary produce of the member, then it is an object covered in section 581B, and then your company will be considered to be a producer company, right? Next is the processing of the produce of the members. So once you have produced it, harvested it or procured it, now you are processing it. This is the next step, right? That processing would include preserving, drying, distilling, brewing, venting, canning, packaging, whatever of the primary produce of the members. So after you have the primary produce, you give out other services of processing. Even that is an object of a producer company. You are not compulsorily required to grow something. You can also process it to be a producer company. Next is any manufacture, sale or supply of the machinery to the members, right? It can be machinery, it can be equipments or consumables. So basically the object will move around the same centric point, which is the primary produce. Either you produce it or you process it or you give the facilities to produce it, right? Next is providing education to them on the mutual assistance principle of the member. Now the point is, what is this mutual assistance? It would mean that the members of the producer company, they come together and work for a common purpose, right? Mutual assistance is actually assisting each other to develop, to learn and to grow. Okay, so then the object would also include rendering of other services. Now what are those other services? Other services would include the technical, consultancy, training, research and development, these kind of services for the members and for the primary produce, right? So now when you are into production of something, the object of section 581B, the objects will basically encompass the entire requirement for a producer to produce the primary produce. Right? So we have seen the direct production, that is production, harvesting, procurement, etc. Then we had seen the processing of these primary produce by the members, then manufacturing and supply of machineries and equipments. Then we had educating the members on mutual assistance basis and providing other services, technical and stuff. And then you need resources to run the machinery and for the other purpose. So even generation, transmission and distribution of power, then revitalization of land and water resources will also be a part of the object for the primary produce, for an object for the producer company. Right? Now even if you get insurance done for the producer and the primary produce, that will also form part of the object. Right? Then any other welfare measures or facilities for the benefit of the member, if you are taking, then even that will form part of the object. Right? And the mutuality and the mutual assistance that we are talking about, if you are into the promotion of the same, even then you are again taking forward any object of the producer company. So these are the basic activities that are covered under the object of the producer company, and any other activity which are ancillary or incidental to these activities, that will also be included to it, because you encompass the entire production, right, that we were talking about. So if there are any other ancillary activity that is necessary for these production, we will include that. We'll consider that to be an object of the producer company. So it is not only the exact producer, it is also the people who support that production by any means, by service, by giving resources, by reprocessing it, ancillary activities, educating the people, taking forward welfare measures, whatever it is. All these will be clubbed together into one bunch, and that is the object. Right? So the object of producer company now has a wider range to understand. So it is not just to produce that you get into and form a producer company. So you can form producer company with other people in the other services, in the other areas also, which are directly indirectly connected to the primary produce. Right? And moreover, it would also include any financing activities where you provide the funds to the producers, arrange for their credit facilities, for the procurement and the processing and marketing and stuff. Right? So even if you are doing those parts, you will be considered to be abiding by the object of the producer company. And one most important thing is that the producer company will primarily deal with the produce of its active members, the members who are active with the producer company, who are working for the company. So they will first absorb the services or the production of those members, and then they'll go on to the rest. So these members who are actually working for the company will be given the priority, and the company will be working with them. Even this is a concept of the mutual assistance. Like they assist each other to develop. Both of them develop, both of them grow, both of them have a balance of demand and supply in the market, and that is how it moves ahead. Right? So now I think with the closure of this topic, you are able to understand and formulate an image in your mind about what a producer company is. Right? So any cooperative society or a producer company, these are similar things if you look at the working. But producer company, to be specific, we have seen what are the requirements of the act, how do we define it, and what are the various objects, the wide range of objects that we cover to understand what a producer company is and what it can do. Right? So with this we'll end the lecture today, and we'll continue with the basic procedure of formulation of the producer company, and then the conversions, reconversions and stuff, and all the requirements of the memorandum article that we have seen the sections. Right? We'll discuss about those in the later chapters, in the later sections. So until then, this is Abhinav Gupta signing off. Stay tuned for the next lecture. Thank you.